welcome to Impact 2025, our continuing conversation where we talk about all types of different topics, where we talk about religion, where we talk about race, where we talk about current events. And as we talk through these issues and these topics, we ask that you participate. Feel free to type your comments and your questions into the comment section. So if you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube, whatever it may be, go ahead and type your comments in the comment section and we will address them. Pull them up on the screen. So if you agree, you disagree, you just have something that you want to say, put it out there. Like to let people know what other things we have going on. On Thursdays, we have Thursday Thirst. That's our weekly Bible study. Please join us. That's at 7 o'clock. That's on Facebook and YouTube. On Sundays at 10 o'clock, that's Eastern Standard Time. We have a time of worship, so worship service. And that's at 10 o'clock in person, as well as YouTube and Facebook. And then at 7 o'clock on Tuesdays, we have a time of prayer. So everybody in the ministry is praying. Not from the whole time from 7 to 7:45, but anytime in between there. If you're going to pray, you're praying with the ministry. And then, of course, 8 o'clock, Impact 2025. Just as a reminder, if you don't know, this is the end of the year. Just December 30th, as this is December 30th, so we only have a day left. And, a lot of people making their plans and doing all these different things towards the end of the year. One of the important parts of what we're talking about one of the important parts of what we're talking about is the changes that happen in the beginning of the year. There are a lot of people who just try to make up changes, like I'm going to do a New Year's resolution and things like that. And those are nice. Those are impactful. People's lives, they feel like they're going to exercise starting at the beginning of the year, or they're going to give up something starting at the beginning of the year. Give up a bad habit or start a good habit or whatever. Those things are nice. Those are personal goals, and they personally affect you. However, there are some significant things that go on at the beginning of the year when new laws come into effect and new regulations come into effect. And with those, you have to watch and kind of see what's going on. One of the new laws and new regulations that's coming into effect is through the SNAP program. And if you know, the SNAP program is the program that helps people to get food from the federal government. And so the SNAP program has been changed to where they're trying to, I guess, the logic is to make people healthier. And so what they've done is, with the SNAP program, they've said that a lot of sugary things like candy can no longer be purchased. Sodas can no longer be purchased. And some other items, that people enjoy can no longer be purchased. And the logic there is, hey, let's get people to be healthier. Let's get people, and especially the children that they're providing for in these families from the SNAP resources to, let's get them to be able to make healthier food choices for their children. Now, realistically, when we look at that, it sounds good. I mean, it does. It sounds nice, like you really care about the kids. And I'm pretty sure that the people who instituted this, maybe, that was their thought process, to have significant caring for the kids. However, if you know what's going on out here, you know that the price of food has gone up. Not just, the prices have been inflated, but it's also the thing we call shrinkflation. And so it's not that the price of your products has gone up, it's the amount of products that you get at that price has gone down. So for example, if you had a box of Pop-Tarts and there were 10 Pop-Tarts and you used to get them for whatever, let's say $5, you will still pay $5, but instead of getting 10 Pop-Tarts in that box, magically it's only 8. And that is the process of shrinkflation, which we have talked about before. And so, as we know, the price of goods, especially vegetables and a lot of vegetables that come from other countries, has gone up. Food that's here, beef, the price of beef has gone crazy. But then just regular manufactured products, cereals and all this kind of stuff, canned goods, everything has gone up. And a lot of those have gone up significantly. And so you have the price of goods going up, and then now you have this new restriction. And the question would be, all right, that's not a big deal. People just eat healthier. Sometimes it's cheaper to eat healthier, you would think. But if you've gone to the grocery store, you know, like I know, it's not. You know, Whole Foods and these fancy. I'm trying to think of other fancy one. I can't think of what it is. Like Elder Thomas or Thomas something. Anyway, these fancy stores that sell a lot of fresh food cost a lot more. And it also costs more to do fresh food in the sense of you have to constantly, if you want to do fresh foods, if you want to do vegetables and you want to eat things like that, you have to constantly go to the grocery store because they don't keep. It's not like you can buy a box of something and you just sit it in the pantry, and then when it's time to eat it, you eat it. If you buy fresh food, you better eat it that day, or you better eat it the next day because it's going to spoil. It's going to go bad. It's not preserved. And so when you're looking at those things, it's you have to consider, all right, well, it's great to eat healthy. It's great to eat healthy, but those stores that sell healthier foods cost more, significantly more. I don't shop there because I don't have that kind of money to be putting on food. So I get healthy food, but not the not the high end Whole Foods type foods. But also, it takes more time, significantly more time. And it's one of the comments. There was a time when you can get half a gallon of ice cream. Now it's quarts that you get. Yeah, that's they do. They change it up. You're doing a half a gallon, and you're doing a quart, and you're doing a pint, and they change up the math. They change up what you're getting, and then they'll even do things like say, well, it's approximately, this, and so but. That's what we know. We know that the price of goods is going up. And so the thing is this: as much as we want to dictate what people want to do and say, well, you need to do healthier and things like that, the problem is if I am someone who has a limited budget, I need to get what can stretch and what can survive. And sometimes the healthiest foods, still healthy foods, a nice healthy meal, but the healthiest meals aren't always the meals that will be able to provide for the family. It's nice to sit back and say, well, you should cook a nice fresh meal every day. But when you're working a job and maybe working multiple jobs, or maybe you're running and your time of your job, if your job is at night and your kids come home at a certain time and your times don't match up, you have to be able to provide what you can provide when you can provide. And the problem with dictating, I think, exactly what sugars and what and sodas and different things like that people can drink and eat. The problem with that is that we don't have consideration for people's individual situations. Here's a good example. They'll be like, all right, they don't need to drink soda. They need to drink water. You're right. Water would be good. However, the water that comes out of, if you're living in a certain area, I was talking to a gentleman the other day. He was saying he doesn't trust the water that comes out of his pipes. I don't either. And he said, by the time you find out from the city or the county that there's an issue with the pipes, you've already been drinking the water for weeks, months, years. He said that his water turned brown. And then he said it was about a month later that he got a notification that there was something wrong with the water. So he stopped, he doesn't drink the water anyway, but he stopped really using the water when it turned brown. But if it wasn't a coloration issue and it was something else, he would have been drinking the water and going along way before it was time for the municipality to send out information and say, hey, stop drinking the water. We all remember what happened in Ferguson with the water up there. I'm sorry, not Ferguson, Flint, Michigan, with the water, where they had contaminated water and people had to drink bottled water. And so you sit back and you say, well, they should drink water. But if you don't trust your pipes, what are your kids going to drink? And some of the cheapest things are, unfortunately, the cheapest things for them to drink are some of the sugary goods, some of the sugary sodas. And so when they come home from school and they get to the house, they may have to drink something that's a little bit less healthy. But when they go out to school and get those nutritious meals from school or from whatever program the kids are going to, maybe they can drink something a little better there. Or they can go to school and drink water from their pipes. But when we sit back and we look at soda is actually, in many cases, soda is the cheapest drink you can get. In some cases, it's cheaper than water. Surprising. But then, yes, in some cases, it's cheaper than water. So when we're making decisions and we're saying that, well, people can't do this and can't do that? Are we making those decisions because we want people to be healthy? Yes, but are we making those decisions? Some people are making those decisions because we want to punish people. Um, because if we really thought the sodas were so bad, we would just stop all people from drinking sodas. We wouldn't say if you're getting government assistance, you can't drink sodas. If we thought the candy was so bad, we would say that everybody has to stop eating candy. But we don't do that. What we say is, well, if you don't have enough money to purchase your own food on your own, well then you can't purchase candy. You can't enjoy the foods that you do. You can't get the things that you want. We want to punish you a little bit. And I think that's more of where it's at. Anyway, back to what this is. This is an economic issue. The reality of the matter is there's people out here who they know how to work. They know how to work their food. They know what stretches and what doesn't. They know what healthy meals they can buy and what semi-healthy meals they can buy. And they know how I need to shop sometimes in order to be able to feed my family. And what they also know, just like most parents have experienced at some point in time in their life, you got knucklehead kids. And sometimes they get in these modes where they only gonna eat what they gonna eat. And they will starve themselves. They will starve themselves to eat only what they want to eat. And so if all your kid is going to do is decide to eat peanut butter and jelly for a month, they won't eat anything else. At some point, a lot of parents break down and be like, well, I got to find an alternative. Maybe I need to do peanut butter and jelly. Now, is that a sugary good that's not going to be on there? Because jelly definitely is sugary. And many peanut butters are as well. Are you going to force parents to buy products with less sugar in it so that now they're going to have to struggle with their kids to get them to eat? Well, I could have got the peanut butter with a little bit more sugar in it, cinnamon flavored or honey flavored or something like that with a little bit more sugar content. And now I can't get that. And I now have to struggle with my child eating. So what I think it is, sometimes we sit back and we have people who don't have. We have people who have needs. And what we want to do is put an extra burden on them. Strings attached to the support that we give. And I think in this situation, with this new law that's coming in, with people with SNAP benefits, I think the majority of it is we want to punish people. I think there's a little bit of it of we want to, consider their health. And I think zero parts of it is we want to consider their economic situation and the fact that it's cheaper to buy things that may be a little bit less healthy. Is coming. It seems to make more sense if instead of regulating what people eat, that efforts are made to help people get out of poverty. Absolutely. Why don't we do that? For a lot of people, why don't we make everything just a little bit? Let's work to get people out of poverty. Let's work to make sure that people have better wages that they can afford, and let's work to make sure that the prices of goods aren't crazy and continuously going up, and the shrinkflation is going on. I think we're fighting the wrong fight, trying to dictate the wrong thing. And again, I really think it's people who are just trying to punish. But I think that's the most important issue. It does make a lot more sense instead of trying to regulate what's going on to help people to be able to afford to eat, to be able to afford food. A lot of people who are on SNAP, a lot of them are working people who just don't have the additional resources to be able to afford to live and eat. And so because of that, because of the way we've set it up as society, we have to supplement that. Now let's be real. If I have a limited amount of resources, I'm going to eat the stuff that's going to get me through and provide me for the whole month. For example, think about when you were young, or, I don't know, whoever was listening, when you were young and you were first starting out, whether you just got out of high school, went out and was on your own for the first time, you were in college, you were working, wherever. What were people eating? Ramen noodles. Not nutritious at all. Why are you eating ramen noodles? Because it's cheap and it can get through. What else they're eating? Pizzas. The pizzas you can just throw in the oven. Not even the good ones. You're not getting DiGiorno. You're getting the cheapest pizzas, like a $2 or $3 pizza that you can just pop in there and it can get you through. Why? Because you don't have a lot of money, a lot of resources. Those aren't the healthiest meals, but they are also aren't, terrible. They have a little bit of high sodium. They got a little bit more sugar, but you're getting the meals that, that's going to stretch. What are you drinking? Are you drinking juice? You're drinking apple juice and grape juice? No, you're drinking Kool-Aid, Flavor Aid, powdered drink. Why? Because those stretch and they get you through. You got a little bit more money, you can make iced tea. But then you got to buy the tea and the sugar and do all this other stuff. And sometimes it doesn't always work out. When you don't have a lot, you figure out ways to make it through. You're eating beans and hot dogs. Huh? You're doing the stuff like that in order to make it through. And so what we're saying now is, and the challenge that we're putting out here is by changing the laws and changing the rules and trying to tell people that, you can't eat this and you can't eat that because this isn't the healthiest option, is what you're saying is the things that have been able to get me through, where now I'm able to make it for the whole month. Maybe I can stretch it. I can make, as the saying goes, I can make miracles every Thanksgiving. You can't. We're dictating what you can do, and we're making it harder to do those things. Not that it's impossible, not that we knocked it all out, but as a society, we've decided to make it harder to do those things. And why? Why do we do that? If you're already down and to the point where you need assistance, why do I need to make it harder on you? Another comedy. People who have difficult time understanding people that do not have. They automatically assume that people in need are lazy and don't want to achieve, but want things given to them. Therefore, the haves want to dictate how the have-not should live. Absolutely. And I think that's exactly what this is. These people should eat more healthy. They should buy these fruits and vegetables. You know what? Meat is a luxury. They shouldn't even be eating meat. Oh, let's make sure that they can't take their SNAP benefits and go to McDonald's anymore. They shouldn't be eating at McDonald's. They shouldn't be doing, this and that and this and that. But yet you don't understand the time frame that goes on. You don't understand that actually there are different times during the course of the years where fast food is actually cheaper than going to the store and purchasing and making food. Yeah, and people don't see that and they don't know that. It's cheaper to go to these restaurants and get fast food. And it doesn't have to be bad. They have plenty of healthy options at these places, but yet they want to dictate and they want to say, well, we want to take out a lot of these, their opportunities to go to these stores. And so I think this is right there. People who have a difficult time understanding that you don't have a lot of time, especially if you're sitting here and you're a working parent with kids or just a working individual, period, that sometimes you don't have time to sit down and cook and make a meal. Or maybe you live in a hotel and you don't have a kitchen and you can't be buying all of this stuff. Or maybe you live in a rooming house or you don't have facilities to be able to make all of these different meals. Again, you don't trust your pipes and you don't have the water to be doing certain things. People don't understand that it's different for different folk. And this comment hits right on there. The haves have a difficult time understanding what people who, what people who don't have need. And instead of asking them, instead of, trusting in a lot of situations that they'll be able to do what they need to do, we decided we want to dictate it. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons on the other side. I understand people gonna be like, yeah, but we have an epidemic. We got a lot of people who are grossly overweight. We have diabetes. We have, diabetes with children. We have a lot of overweight children, unhealthy. I get it, and I get I get that. But I don't think me personally, and y'all can tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think that the effort should be towards dictating exactly what people do. We can encourage them to do other things. Hey, let's have some cooking classes. Let's show you some ways to do some healthy meals and some healthy foods that are going to be inexpensive and that may last a little longer. That it will be quick, that you can do if your time is tight. Let's show some different ways, encourage some different ways, but not dictate different ways. Let's switch it a little bit. As a church, as people of God, as people, we talk about people of God. We talk about people who are trying to be moral, people who are trying to care about our neighbors and other things like that. It's less for us. I think it's less of dictating how we help people. It never, You ask and you shall receive, not ask and we'll think about what we think is best for you and then we'll give you that. And sometimes we want to do that. Sometimes we try to do that a little too much. I think there are moments when you kind of manipulate the situation where somebody says, "Yeah, I need this," and you say, "Well, I don't have that. I can give you something different." But putting a lot of stipulations on your help sometimes isn't the right thing to do. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it isn't the right thing to do. And I think that is one of the things that we have to think about. Um, you know, the more we go through life and the more we deal with other people is, am I trying to control you? Am I trying to put stipulations on the help that I get? I'll say this. I remember when I was young, and I've probably given this example before because I say it from time to time. When I was young, I was in school. Um, I did a lot of mission projects, and one of the things about the mission projects that I did, and I did it with the Methodist Church, I want to say. One of the things that I liked about the mission projects that we did is that when we went to two different places, whether it be in the United States or it would be a different country, what we did was we went to people and asked what they needed. Or we didn't even go until the people asked or told us what they needed. So in one situation, we went to the Christian population that lived in the mountains. They were indigenous population. And they wanted us to provide them with trees. And the reason was because what was happening was that the community had come in and cut down all the trees, and there was a lot of erosion going on because they lived in the mountains. And what they did was it eroded away the plants. And those are the plants they use for medicine. Those are the plants they use for food. Those are the plants, what they did. And so what they wanted was trees. Now, as a Christian group, we could have came there and said, nope, we're not giving you trees. Well, we're going to give you what you need. We're going to give you Bibles. And we're going to give you all these other types of food that you need to be eating now that the trees are gone. Well, that's not what they wanted. And truly, that's not what they needed. What we did was we planted the trees. So we provided them exactly with what they needed. And there's other situations like that. I think that's where we need to be, sometimes as Christians, as people who are going to be in relationship with others, as neighbors. Is sometimes we just need to provide people with what they need. Now, if you want some additional, it's funny because you sit there, we plant the trees, and they're like, oh man, the church or Christians came here and helped out and plant the trees. Why would you do that? Well, because we believe in God and we believe in being neighbors to one another. And now you can have that conversation. But don't start off with, I'm going to dictate to you what I want to do or how I want to help you, and then think people are going to be receptive to what's going on. You're not showing love to somebody by just, again, forcing yourself on them. What about food deserts? Food deserts. Sorry. The stores in some communities only provide substandard products. Absolutely. And that's another thing. If you're sitting here and you're in a food desert, but the products at the food desert are the sugary products and the products that, that are on the list of things you can't buy with your SNAP. What are you supposed to do? And the things at those food deserts sometimes cost a lot. There is a store near where I am talking right now. I go to the store and I get bread. I can get bread for, $1, $2. If I want fancy bread, it can be $4. There's a store right here I can look at it right now if I wanted to, if I looked out the window. They sell a regular loaf of bread, the same loaf of bread that I can get for $2 at Food Lion or Walmart or Kroger. They sell it for $6. And so if I'm sitting here and I got SNAP and I need something to eat, I could make sandwiches with that bread and some meat. But if I go in that store and I get a loaf of bread, that's $6. They didn't took out a whole big chunk of my money. Where I can get a microwave pizza up in there for like $2 or $3. I can get some unhealthy sodas, two for $4. And so I got to make a decision. I can get this overpriced bread in this food desert because there's nothing else around. I can get this overpriced bread, or I can get the things that I know that are going to stretch, ramen noodles, all that other stuff. All that stuff that you say is not the greatest for me to eat, but at least I can eat for a week versus getting this loaf of bread that's $6. That's probably right there at its expiration date. I think that's what we got to think about. whether we have or have not, that's what we got to think about when we're trying to dictate what people do. I think this is a great comment because people don't understand what a food desert is. And they don't understand that there's a lot of people, and increasingly even more, that don't have vehicles, that don't have transportation. A lot of people here who don't have an Uber app or a Lyft app to get to these different places. Or, yeah, you have SNAP benefits, but SNAP doesn't pay for Uber, you know? And I don't know where you are. Here, yes, bus right now is free, but I don't know how long that'll be. And what if you don't live on a bus route? And so there's so many things to think about when we're sitting here. We're talking about helping people, or we're talking about the people in need, but then we're trying to dictate exactly how they're able to provide for themselves and their loved ones. So I bring that up. I know I bring that up, and these are some great comments. I bring that up because I think we need to think that through. We really need to think about our approach. Now, there's nothing we can do about this law right now that just went into effect. But I think we need to think about that going forward with all the things that we do. Are we trying to make it extra hard on people? Now, I truly believe because of the administration that we have in office, and the people who voted for this law, the reason that they did this law is because, they want revenge on people who need. They want to hurt people who need. They want to make it hard on people who need, for whatever reason. I don't know why they're so mad at people who need. In the same way they want to do, we're on an international basis where we decided that we're going to cut, a lot of funding for people who need in different countries. There's some fraud going on. Well, I don't know. I don't know about you, but there's people in need, and I send a bunch of stuff, and half of it goes to fraud. Well, at least half of the people in need got it. Versus, let's send nothing, and nobody gets help, and that's what they decided to do. And so, this whatever this is, if it's anger, whether it's jealousy, whether it's I don't know what it is, the way that we treat people in need, or the way that leadership across in this country right now is treating people in need, we need to work that out. And so, as individuals, when we're communicating with folks, because I don't know who you know, but when we're communicating with folks, we need to remind people of that. Is that we don't need to be angry at people because they're in need. We don't need to be trying to dictate exactly everything that they do. What we need to do is ask them what they need and help. All right. Well, that was about it. And again, those are some great comments. Bring one back up, because this sums up everything. And I'm going to say it one more time. People who have a difficult time understanding people that do not have. All right, that encapsulates everything, and I think that's what we need to work on. Even though I'm talking about our leaders, each of us individually, we got to look at ourselves and look at how we're rolling when we're doing the things that we're doing. All right. Thanks for all the comments. Just as a reminder to everyone, on Thursday, we have Thursday. This Thursday, we will not have Thursday 7 o'clock. But started the first Thursday of I guess it'll be the second Thursday. Well, starting in 2026, we will have Thursday. So join us at 7 o'clock, Facebook and YouTube. 10 o'clock on Sundays, Eastern Standard Time. Like to remind people, because we have people all over the place looking. We do have worship service, a great time. And if you are in the area, the address is on the screen. Please join us. As they say, it's better in person. On Tuesdays at 7 o'clock, we have a time of prayer from 7 to 7:45. Please put up a prayer sometime in between there. Pray with others. Let's pray together. And then, of course, at 8 o'clock, we have Impact 2025. And so thank you. Thank you for joining us. And then the next time you will join us will be in the new year. So for everyone out there, have a safe new year. Have a happy new year. Hope you had a Merry Christmas and happy holidays. And let's get back at it in this 2026. All right. So everyone, have a good one and join us again.
Sometimes you'll want